Hey friends, what up? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Nun Hey, Daf 55 of Masechta Yevamos. Friends, well, Daf 55 starts out with some fakakta case. I don't know, is fakakta like, should I not be saying that in the context of Gemara? Oh, I don't know. It's some case. Yeah, it's a funny little case in the beginning of, well, whatever. It is what it is, Lamaise. And that's where we start off with this case, which we'll get to in about a minute. And then that leads into Achos Isha, or Beimina Ab, Beimina Aim. We talk about Ha'aroya. So friends, some interesting stuff, I guess. Alright friends, let's jump in. So, the Gemara starts talking about a case. Alright, let's see if I'm pretty sure I remember it. Friends, you ready? It's a redunculous case. Okay, so you ready for this? You're gonna hear names you've never heard of before. All right, let's see if I can get this straight. So, okay, you have who does it start with? Dinah. Dinah is the daughter of Yaakov and Leah. Now there's Yocheved. Yocheved is the daughter of Leah and Chetzrin. I didn't make up these names. Rashi's using these names. Okay, so far we have Dinah and we have Yocheved. Now they share a mother, but they have different fathers. Dinah's father is Yaakov. Yocheved's father is Chetzrin. Now you have Sarah. Sarah is the daughter of Chetzrin and Keturah. Okay, and now you have Rivka, who's the daughter of Keturah and Besuel. And finally you have Milcah, who's the daughter of Besuel and Chana. So, some of them have the same mother, some of them have the same father, right? So for example, if you look at Dinah and Yocheved, so they have the same mother, Leah, but they have different fathers, right? Dinah's father is Yankiv, and Leah's and Yocheved's father is Chetzrin. And if you look now at Sarah, so Sarah and Yocheved have the same father, Chetzrin, but they have different mothers. Yocheved's mother is Leah, and Sarah's mother is Keturah. So we see basically there's like a chain to the extent also but if we look at Dinah and we look at Sarah, so they're not related in any way, right? Dinah's father is Yaakov, Dinah's mother is Leah, and Sarah's father is Chetzrin, and Sarah's mother is Keturah. So, sort of, Yocheved is the link between Dinah and Sarah, but Dinah and Sarah are not related to each other, right? So both Dinah and Sarah are related to Yocheved, but neither are related to each other. Anyways, friends, that's what we're dealing with over here, friends. So, alright, so where are we? We're on Daf Nun Daled Amud Beis, 5 lines to the bottom. V'hodetnan, that which we learn in a Mishnah. Where's this Mishnah? Is this a Mishnah we're going to have to interact with? Yep, we are. But we have about a month and 10 days until then. So, where were we? 5 lines from the bottom of Nun Daled Amud Beis. V'hodetnan, and that which we learn in a Mishnah. Amrulo, they said to Reuven, Mesa Ishtecha, your wife died. So now we're kind of going in reverse over here, right? So let's say Reuven is married to Milcah. Milcah was the last daughter, right? The daughter of Besuel and Chana. So Reuven is married to Milcah. And they said to Mesa Ishtecha, they said, Milcah can be found in Wellwood. Vinosa Achosa Me'avia. So he went ahead and married Rivka, who has the same father as Milcah, Besuel. Mesa, and then Rivka died, or at least they told him that she died. Vinosa Achosa Me'ima. So then he went and married Sarah, who has the same mother as Rivka. That would be Keturah. Mesa, and then they told her that that Sarah died. Vinosa Achosa Me'avira. So then he went and he married Yocheved, who has the same father as Sarah, Chetzron. Mesa, they told her that Sarah died, that Yocheved died, V'nasa achosa me'ima, and then he went and he married Dinah, who has the same mother as Yocheved, Leah. So basically, he keeps on going one person further down the chain of so he keeps on marrying somebody who's either shares a father or shares a mother. Now it turns out that all of these people are alive. Turns out that they were yanking his chain. Turns out that Milcah, Rivka, Sarah, Yocheved, and Dinah are all alive. So now what happens? So he's permitted to remain married to Milcah, Sarah, and Dinah, because they're not related in any way. So he's got 3 wives. Ufotris Tsarosein, and if Reuven dies and Shimon does Yibum with Milcah, so then Sarah and Dinah are potter. V'asur bashniu v'arvius, but he may not remain with Rivke and Yocheved. Ve'in biasachas men poteres tsarasa, and if Reuven dies and Shimon does Yibum with Rivke or with Yocheved, it's not going to have any nafkaminis for his tsaras. Ve'im ba ala shniya lachar misas harishona. Now, if what happened was instead of marrying Milcah, right? Well, instead of what if Milcah actually died? I guess, and then Reuven marries Rivke. So in that case, muter b'shniu v'arvius ufotus tsarosein. So then he can remain married to Rivke and to Yocheved, v'asu b'shlishis uv'achamishis, but he will be forbidden to Sarah and to Dinah. So what do we see? So we see that the sister of your wife is an issue both when it's from the father or from the mother, right? As we said, that if Reuven goes and he marries, right, if he's going to be married to, all 5, so basically he could remain married to Milcah, to Sarah, and to Dinah, because they're not related in any way. But if he's married to Milcah, he can't also be married to Rivka, because they share a father. They share the father Besuel. Now, if Milcah died and then he married Rivka, so then he could remain married to Rivka and Yocheved, but he can't be married to Rivka and Sarah because they share the same mother, Keturah. So therefore, we see that Achos Isha is an issue whether it's a sister who shares a father with your wife or whether it's a sister who shares a mother with your wife. Friends, that was a very complicated way of saying that the erev of Achos Isha is bein min ha'av, bein min ha'em. So, says the Gemara at the top of Nunei with Aleph Alma, Achos Ishto bein min ha'av, bein min ha'em. So we see from this convoluted example that Achos Isha applies whether it's from the father, or right, whether they're sisters who share a father, whether they're sisters who share a mother. Asuris minalan. How do we know this? Yolef me'achoso. Well, we learn out Achos Isha from your own sister. Me'achoso bein min ha'av, bein min ha'em. Just like your sister is also to you whether you share a father, whether you share a mother. Avkan bein min ha'av, bein min ha'em. Also here by Achos Isha, it is bein min ha'av, bein min ha'em. V'leilef midodaso. Why don't we learn it out from your father's brother's wife? Well, madodaso min ha'av v'lo min ha'em. Right, continuing, right, and say that just like your father's brother's wife is forbidden to you, whether it's your father's brother. Wait, what? I have no clue what I'm talking about. I'm just nervous that somebody's going to come home right now. I've had so many experiences recently when I was in a flow, and then somebody stormed through the door and started making a lot of noise and made it very difficult for me to focus. I'm just like so nervous. Someone's going to come through the door. But anyways, that hasn't happened yet. So again, so we suggest, instead of learning it out from your sister, why don't you learn it out from your father's brother's wife? Madodaso, I'm reading that again, mina'av v'lo mina'im, just like your father's brother's wife, it's talking about your father's brother who shares a father with him, but not who shares a mother with him. Afkan, mina'av v'lo mina'im. So let's say here also, it's talking about your by your wife's sister, right? Achus Isha, it's talking about sisters who share a father, not who share a mother. So now says the Gemara, it makes sense to say, however, that we would learn out your wife's sister, right? Achus Isha, from your own sister, shekin krovei atzmo mikrovei atzmo, because it's talking about your wife's sister and your sister, as opposed to your father's brother's wife. So Adrab midodasav le'lemelef. They say no, it makes more sense to learn it out from your father's brother's wife. Shekein davar ayidei kiddushin midavar shayidei kiddushin. It makes sense because your father's brother's wife is through marriage, and so is your wife's sister. That's also through marriage, as opposed to your sister, which is not through marriage. So rather, says the Gemara, forget about learning out your wife's sister from your own sister. Rather, learn out your wife's sister from your brother's wife. Tishakain davar ayidei kiddushin, because your brother's wife is an erva through marriage. V'krovei atzmo, and they're also your own relative, right? I have no clue what I just said. I keep on getting distracted and nervous. But anyways, right, your brother's wife is through marriage, and also your brother's wife, right, is your brother's wife, as opposed to your father's brother's wife, right? So therefore, let's learn out that your wife's sister is asura b'mina av b'mina aim from the fact that your brother's wife is asura b'mina av b'mina aim. Ve'eshes och guf minalan. How do we know that your brother's wife is asura, whether it's your brother who shares a father with you, or whether it's your brother who shares a mother with you? The Tanya, we learn in the Brisa, ervas eshes ochichelo segale. It says, do not reveal the erva of the wife of your brother. We're saying that means whether it's your brother who shares a father with you, or whether it's your brother who shares a mother with you. Wait, maybe your brother's wife is specifically also when it is your brother who shares a father with you, but not your brother who shares a mother with you. Vidinu. But no, that wouldn't make sense, because we could say chayiv kan v'chayiv ba'achoso. Well, you're chayiv over here by your brother's wife, and you're also chayiv by your sister. Ma'achoso b'min av b'min ha'em. Just like your sister is also, whether it's your sister who shares a father with you or who shares a mother with you. Afkan b'min av b'min ha'em. So here also by your brother's wife, we're talking about your brother who shares a father or who shares a mother with you. But one second, maybe I'll suggest chayiv kan v'chayiv b'dodaso. You're chayiv by your brother's wife, and you're also chayiv by your father's brother's wife. Madodaso min ha'av v'lo min ha'em. Just like your father's brother's wife is only your father's brother who shares a father, but not your father's brother who shares a mother. Afkan min ha'av v'lo min ha'em. So I'll say also by your brother's wife, it's talking about your brother who shares a father with you, not who shares a mother with you. Near l'midom. So we say, yeah, but which one is it more similar to? Well, let's learn out your brother's wife from your sister. Rather, right? We're talking about your sister, right? I think so. Right? Yeah. So let's learn out your brother's wife from your sister, as opposed to your brother's wife from your father's brother's wife. So or I can make the argument, learn out your brother's wife, which is an erva through marriage, from your father's brother's wife, which is also through marriage, as opposed to your sister who, it's not through marriage, it's just kind of is. She's just like kind of born. So we're kind of like a shtickle stuck over here. Like, we're trying to figure out your brother's wife when the pasuk says that your brother's wife is asura, is that your brother from your father? What about your brother from your mother? So Talmud Lomar, therefore the pasuk says ervas achicha hi, that the pasuk says, that same pasuk that says ervas eishes achicha lo segala, the same pasuk that says do not reveal the erva of your brother's wife. So it also says ervas achicha hi. It is the erva of your brother, from which we learn out that it is whether from your father, whether from your mother. Alright, fine. So ervas achicha hi, bein min ha'av, bein min ha'em. Whether it's from the father, whether it's from the mother. Ve'ema. Oh, but now the Gemara says, wait. Maybe I'll say, idi ve'idi be'eshes och min ha'ev. Maybe both ervas eshes achicha lo segale and ervas achicha hi, they're both referring to your brother who shares a father with you, not your brother who shares a mother with you. And from the first part of the pasuk, ervas eshes achicha lo segale, chad de yesh la banim b'chaye bailo, b'chad de ein la banim b'chaye bailo. So from one part of the pasuk, we learn about your brother's wife who has children during the lifetime of your brother. Let's go right there for a second. And the other one's talking about when she doesn't have children in the lifetime of your brother. And therefore the first part of the pasuk, ervas eshes achicha lo segala, is talking about when she does have children. And then ervas achicha is talking about when she doesn't have children. What does that mean? It means that as long as as long as your brother is alive, even if they're divorced, you cannot marry your sister, his ex-wife or whatever. Even if they get divorced, Shimon cannot marry her, and that's whether she has children. That's what we learn out from the first part of the pasuk, or whether she doesn't have children. As long as your brother's alive, you cannot marry her. But we let's argue that both of those are, however, talking about your brother who shares a father with you. So where am I? So so we say, well, if your brother's wife doesn't have children, the fact that she's asura to you while your brother is alive, that we learned out yesterday from Rav Huna, who learned it out from the pasuk, that it says by your brother's wife, it says nidahi. And we learned out from that she's asura to you. So therefore, I already know that your brother's wife who doesn't have children is asura to you as long as your brother is alive, and therefore, what do we learn out from ervas achicha hi? We learn out bein min ha'av, bein min ha'em. But one second, no, one second. Maybe I'll still argue that both parts of the pasuk are talking about your brother who shares a father with you, not who shares a mother with you. One of them is talking about when she has children, and it's saying that as long as your brother is alive, she is asura to you. And the other part of the pasuk is saying that when she has children, also after your brother dies, then she's still asura to you. One second, when she has children, to teach me, to teach me that when she has children, she's asura to you after your brother dies, I don't need a pasuk to teach me that. Because from the fact that in the context of Yibum, the Torah says that if she doesn't have children, so then she's permitted to you, you're allowed to do Yibum. That of course implies that if she does have children, then she is forbidden to you. So we see that if your brother's wife has children, so then even after your brother dies, she's asura to you. So I don't need a pasuk to teach me that. But maybe I do need a pasuk to teach me that. Vidilma ein la bonim asura le'ama v'shayir liyavam. Maybe you could say that, look, in the context of Yibum, when we say that if your brother's wife doesn't have any children, she's permitted to you, means that she's permitted to you and also to everybody else, yesh la bonim. But maybe I'll argue that if she does have children, shayir le'ama v'shayir liyavam, that just like she's permitted to everybody else, she's right to marry anybody else, she's also permitted to marry you as well, right? And therefore, maybe I need the pasuk to teach me that she is asura to you. Inami, or else ein la bonim mitzvah. Maybe I'll argue that when your brother's wife doesn't have any children, then there's a mitzvah to do yibum, yesh labanim rishus, but if she doesn't have children, so optionally I can marry to her, it's just not a mitzvah. Inami in labanim in yesh labanim lo, or maybe we could say yes, the implication when we say that if she doesn't have children, so then you can marry her, implying that if she does have children, then you cannot marry her, but it's a velava b'mechlal essay, right? And if you have a negative prohibition that only comes from an implication about a positive commandment, right? From the fact that it says, Yevamo yavo aleh, do yibum when your brother doesn't have any children, implying that if he does have children, don't do yibum, but that is treated essentially as a mitzvah essay. So, and I wouldn't know that it is kares. So therefore, for all of these reasons, I can argue that I actually do need, right, we could say, that both parts of the pasuk are talking about your brother from your father, and I needed to teach me your brother your brother's wife who has children when your brother, during the lifetime of your brother, and also after your brother dies. Okay, but because of krachrina ervas achiv gila, we have a different pasuk that says ervas achiv gila, from which we can learn out that if your brother and his wife had children, then she's still asura to you after he dies. We learn that out from a different pasuk. So then, what do we learn out from both parts of this pasuk? We learn out that bein min ha'av, bein min ha'em, ve'em ha'eshes och min ha'em k'eshes och min ha'av. So now maybe I'll say that, well, your brother's wife, right, your brother from your father should be just like, or that we should say that your brother from your mother should be just like your brother from your father. Ma'eshes och min ha'av lachar misas by l'shaya ach eshes och min ha'em lachar misas by l'shaya. Of course, we know that yibum only applies with your brother who shares a father with you. But maybe I'll say that, right, just like eshes och applies to your brother from the same father, it also applies to your brother from the same mother, right? So I'll say maybe then also yibum applies both whether it's your brother from the same father or whether it's your brother from the same mother. So Amakra, he, Bavayosate. No, that pasuk from which we learn out Bein Aim is ervas achicha he, which means no, she remains Havayosate, she remains the same. She remains asura to you. Right, even if your brother dies without any children, still, if it's your brother from the same mother, there's no mitzvah of yibum. So now, frag the Gemara, achos the kosav ba kares lomeli. Friends, hear the kasha. How come? Was somebody here? I don't think so. Oh no. That's the woman. I hear somebody. There's this person, a neighbor of mine. Usually every Shabbos, she takes out her rug and she hangs it up and starts whacking it. But apparently, I guess she does it on Tuesdays too. Let me tell you. Wait, is today Tuesday? I can't remember. Back in the Gemara. Achos the kosav ba kra lomeli. So it must be a very dirty rug. You hear that? No, you definitely don't hear that, but I hear it. But you guys have been hearing the background noise for the past few weeks, right? Stark. Let's go weiter. So how come it says kares by achoso, right? We saw, of course, yesterday Rabbi Yena, right? Who says that we compare all of the arayos to each other, and it says kares already there by arayos in general. So how come I need a special kares when it comes to your sister? So achosu the kosav ba kares lomli. How come I need a special kares by your sister? Well, it's like Rabbi Yochanan teaches. Rabbi Yochanan says, Rabbi Yochanan shemason kulam behelim achas chayv kol achas v'achas. It teaches kares a second time to teach that each and every time you know, if you sleep with all 15 arayas or whatever, so you can be chayiv kares 15 times. Chayiv for each one. Rabbi Yitzchak, doma kochayv kreisos, bichlal ayu, v'lomu yotzus kares ba'achoso, ladunu b'kares v'malkis. Okay, what about according to Rabbi Yitzchak, who says, how come it says kares by your sister to teach that even if, before sleeping with your sister, you were warned that if you sleep with your sister, you're actually going to get malchus, i.e. they made a mistake, they warned him for the wrong thing, but they said you're going to get malchus. We nonetheless do not give you malchus. We do not administer malchus. We administer kares. The fellow will get kares. So l'chalik minolan. So then, how does Rabbi Yitzchak know they're going to be chayiv for each and every one? Because the Rabbi Yochanan learns it out from the fact that you get kares is specified by your sister. Rabbi Yitzchak says that that's talking about something else. So then, how does he learn out that you'll be chayiv for each and every one? So nafkalei mivel isha benidas tumasa l'chayiv al kol isha v'isha. The pasuk says el isha benidas tumasa. A woman, when she's a nida, do not sleep with her. Right, so it's specifying an isha to say that you can be chayiv for each and every isha that you sleep with in violation of the arayos laws. Also the kosav barachmana aririm. It says here yiyu, but it really says yamusu lamali. How come it has to mention by your aunt that you will be chayiv kares? Aririm is childless. Kares, I guess, is part of the kares thing. Lamali. So how come I needed to say by your aunt that you'll be chayiv kares? So the chidirabba, it's like Rabba the Rabba Rami. Rabba asked the kasha, ksiv aririm yiyu, ksiv aririm yamusu. We have a pasuk by Eishes Och, I believe. Yeah, by Eishes Och it says aririm yiyu, and by your aunt it says aririm yamusu. Why does it need both aririm yiyu, aririm yamusu? What's the nafkamina? Okay, it said no. Yesh lo bonim kovron, ein lo bonim holi chariri. Okay, so if you have children, you'll bury them. If you don't have children, then you will go childless. Let's go weiter for a second. Ve'itztrich lemichtav aririm yiyu, ve'itztrich lemichtav aririm yamusu. And now we're going to explain basically what exactly aririm yiyu means and aririm yamusu. Here we go. The kosav achman aririm yiyu. Okay, sorry, that was like a little bit kind of mumbly for the past line or two, because the Gemara was like kind of, really this is what the Gemara is saying, right? That the difference between aririm yiyu and aririm yamusu is havamina ad chatoe aval mechatoe ve'elach lo, that aririm yiyu implies that if right now you have children, in the future you will not have children, i.e. the children that you have had until now will die, right? But I might think that any children that you will have after this incident will remain alive. So therefore it had to say aririm yamusu, no, even any children that you're going to have afterwards will die as well. Because of Rahman aririm yamusu, and if we only add the pasuk say that you will die childless, havamina mechatoy ve'elach avameikar lo, I may have thought only the children who are born after the incident will die and you will die without them, but any children that were born before then would be spared. So tzricha, that is why we need both. Aririm yiyu means any children that were already born before this incident will die, and aririm yamusu means that any children that are born afterwards will die as well. So that's the difference between aririm yiyu and aririm yamusu. In fact, the Gemara ha'aroya dechayve lavin minolam. Ha'aroya. Who can tell me what ha'aroya is? We're going to get into some detail in just a little bit about what exactly constitutes ha'aroya. But ha'aroya is basically not so much penetration, l'maaseh. Not so much penetration, l'maaseh. So how do we know that ha'aroya d'chayve lavin? So who could give me an example of a chayve lavin? A mamzer. You're not allowed to right? You're not allowed to marry a mamzer. So how do I know? Or you're not. I guess you're not allowed to sleep with a mamzer either. So how do I know that ha'aroya by a mamzer is already a violation of that prohibition? So midigali rachmana shichva zera gabi shivcha charufa michlad l'chayve lavin ha'aroya. From the fact that specifically by shivcha charufa we say shichva zera, i.e. A proper intercourse. So that implies that by the other lavin it is even ha'aroya is enough. What's a shivcha charufa? Who could tell me? Shivcha charufa is a Canaanite maidservant who is married to a Jewish slave. A Canaanite maidservant can be married to a Jewish slave. So they are married, and then some other fellow comes along and sleeps with her. So Ubichai ben Osham, and she gets malchus. Anyways, so in that case, it's talking about proper intercourse. So from the fact that we specify proper intercourse by a shivcha charufa, that implies that by other lavim, even ha'aroya is enough. affecting more adrab. But from the fact that in the context of chiyuve kores, it says ha'aroya, so that implies that by chiyuve kores there's ha'aroya michad chai b'lavin b'gmar bia. But by other lavin, it would have to be proper intercourse. So Rav Ashi, if by all lavin it was proper intercourse, so then don't say anything by shifcha charufa, and I would know that mimele it's proper intercourse like all the other lavin. From the fact that by shifcha charufa we specify proper intercourse, that implies that by other lavin even ha'aroya would suffice. Ha'aroya d'chayve lavin d'kehuna min olan. How do we know that by the chayve lavin by kehuna? So for example, a grusha, right? If a Kohen marries a divorcee, how do we know that you're in violation of that prohibition even by ha'aroya? Asya kicha. Well, it says ve'isha shayikach es achoso. That's talking about his sister, which is erva, which is chay b'ha'aroya. And it also says isha zona v'chalal lo yikachu v'shagusha meisha lo yikachu. So it says kicha also by by the limitations on the marriage of the Kohen. So therefore, just like by erva it is chay by ha'aroya, so also by the chay v'lavin of a Kohen, it's also a problem if you do ha'aroya. The chayve ese minolan. How do you know, for example, right, marrying an Edomite or an Egyptian within the first 3 generations, which is a law that's from the implication of the fact that the pasuk says that you're only allowed to get married after 3 generations, implying that less than that you're not allowed to get married. So how do you know that there also it's a problem once there is ha'aroya? Asher bia. Well, it says right by the Edomites and the Egyptians, says and it says by a mamzer lo yovo mamzer b'kal Hashem. We say that by a mamzer it's a lav and it's ha'aroya. So here also by like the Edomite and the Egyptian it's ha'aroya. Yevamos l'shuk min olon. How do I know that if Reuven dies, Shimon needs to do even with Sarah. If she now marries somebody else, how do I know that it's a problem once there's ha'aroya? So ilam and omer lav, ilam and omer ese. To which the Gemara says, what do you mean? How do I know that a Yevama who needs to do yibum but gets married to somebody else, how do I know that that'll be a problem of ha'aroya? Well, if it's a lav, we said that ha'aroya is a problem by lavim. If it's an essay, we said that ha'aroya is a problem by essay. So, elo yivama liyavam minolan. No, how do we know that when it comes to yibum, so then ha'aroya is already enough, right? As we said in our Mishnah, right? That even if there's ha'aroya, it's considered yibum, they're considered married. So, ase bia, it says, bia by a mamzer, and it says, is that right? Yeah. And it says bia from Yevamo Yova Yaleo, so therefore by mamzer, just like by mamzer it's ha'aroya, so also by yibum it's ha'aroya. Isha levaila minalon asa kicha. And also, how do you know that kiddushin works with ha'aroya, right? If you're being mekadesh bebia, so how do we know that ha'aroya is already considered married, engaged? So asa kicha, well, it says kicha by your sleeping with your sister, which is erva, and also it says kicha by kikach ishisha. So just like by erva, it's ha'aroya is enough. So then also by being mekadesh bebia, ha'aroya would suffice. Says the Gemara, Omar Rove, says Rove, Lomli the cause of Achmana Shichvazer b'Shifcha Charufa, Shichvazer b'Eshesi, Shichvazer b'Sota. So says Rove, I'm going to read that again. Lomli the cause of Achmana Shichvazer b'Shifcha Charufa. How come by Shifcha Charufa that we talked about a few minutes ago? Imam Davka mentions Shifchazer, proper intercourse, not just ha'aroya. Shichvazer b'Eshes Ish, also by adultery, right? Sleeping with a married woman. Also it says Shichvazer, proper intercourse. Shichvazer b'Sota. And why does it also say Shichvazer in the context of a Sota, a fellow who warns his wife not to be with a certain other fellow? The Shifcha Charufa G'da Amorin. Well, it says Shichva Zera by Shifcha Charufa. As we said earlier, that you're only chayav by a Shifcha Charufa once there is proper intercourse. That is when the fellow would be chayav a Korban Asham. Deishes Ish Pradlim Shamish Mace. It says by sleeping with a married woman. So it says Shifchas Zera. It has to be a relations that can actually provide offspring. To exclude it, right? Pradlim Shamish Mace. So the exclusion of a fellow who sleeps with a married woman, but he doesn't have any erection. And if that's the case, then he won't be able to provide seed to this woman to be able to have a child. So it won't be Shivcha Zera. So that makes sense if you say that having intercourse when it comes to the arayis, having intercourse without an erection is taka potter by arayos. So beseder. So that okay, we see right Shivcha Zera to the exclusion of mishamish meis. But according to the opinion who says that by arayos you're chayiv even for mishamish meis, so then why should you be excluded? Why should we exclude mishamish meis by a married woman? Ela parla mishamish meisa. Rather, no, it's shivcha zera that it needs to be able to provide right seed and be able to have offspring. To the exclusion if one were to sleep with a corpse, if a man were to sleep with a married corpse, that would not be, with a woman who's dead. So that would not be a violation of Eishes Ish. Misa Nami Ikri She'ero. Well, I may have thought that, right, in the context of a Kohen, it says that he can only become Tameh L'She'era Karovela, right, to these people who are relatives. So we see even in the context of death, these relatives, right, a person could still be considered She'er, and therefore I might think that even if this woman is dead, you might be Chayiv for Eishes Ish by sleeping with her. So, Eim L'Chayiv, I should say that you're Chayiv L'Chayiv Ala Be'Eishes Ish, Kamashmalan. Therefore it says, Shichva Zera, it has to be Ra'ui La'azriya, it has to be actually able to lead to a child, and if she's dead, it can't lead to a child. Disota Lamali, how come I need Shichvas Zera in the context of a Sota? The Chidetani, as we learned in the Price, Shichvas Zera Prat L'Davar Acher. So it says by a Sota that if a fellow warns his wife, right, not to be with a certain fellow, with a certain other fellow, and then she was with him, and it says that there was Shichvas Zera, Prat L'Davar Acher, to the exclusion of some other thing. My Davar Acher, what's this other thing? Amr of Sheishes, Prat L'Shekine Lo Shelo Kedarko. If her husband warned her, don't be with a certain fellow and have anal intercourse with this fellow. If that's what he says, that's excluded from Sota. Amalei Rav Mishkavei Isha Ksiv. Rava says, why should that be excluded? It says in the context of Sota Mishkavei Isha that even includes, right, ben kedarka, ben shelo kedarka, whether naturally, whether unnaturally. Ella Amarava rather says Rava Prat L'Shekine La Derech Ivorim. All right, to the exclusion of, right. So says Rava, what it means is that it has to be Shichva Zera. It's the exclusion of if he warns her, don't be playing around with each other in other ways. Don't have other physical interactions. Don't, even if it's not intercourse, right, don't be physical with each other in other ways. So Amalei Abai Pitzusa Asur Achmana. Abai says obviously that's excluded. I mean, the Torah is talking about intercourse, right? That's what Sota is. It's intercourse. It's not just other physical interactions. So Elo Amar Abai, rather says Abai, Prat L'Shekine Lo B'Neshika. It's the exclusion of if he says, I don't want you to do neshika with this fellow. Neshika would be, he's warning his wife, hey, I don't want you and this other fellow to get yourself into a situation where his kind of penis is touching your vagina, I guess, even if it's not going in. Lamaisa, that's what neshika is. It's kind of kissing in that sense. So this could make sense if we say, as we're going to explore in a minute, that if we say that ha'aroya is hachnosas haTorah, if we say that this ha'aroya thing that we've been talking about for the last 2 days, which is sort of a lack of penetration, of insufficient penetration. So if we say that is hachnosas hatorah, so then okay, so also like that the top of the penis has to be inside this woman. So then nishika would not be enough, and that would be excluded from sota. But if you say that ha'aroya is taka nishika, so then how could you then that we said that's a problem, and by arayas. So then how could we exclude nishika if ha'aroya is nishika? So rather it is like Rava was saying, that when he says, hey, I don't want you to be with this other fellow, even if you're just being physical in other ways, even if it's not intercourse, and I need that to be excluded, because I may have had me to say that, look, when it comes to sota, maybe the laws of sota are based on whatever the husband is comfortable or uncomfortable with. And he's saying, look, I'm not comfortable with you being physical with this other fellow, and therefore I might think that would be included in sota. Comes the pasuk to say no, shichva zera, intercourse is a problem, but other physical interactions would not be a violation of sota. Omer Shmuel says, Shmuel ha'aroya zo nishiko. Alright, says Shmuel that ha'aroya is taka nishiko. Moshel adam shemenech etzbo al piv yevshesh liyidchok habaser. It's like a fellow puts his finger on his lips. So Mamela, his finger is going to press his lips a little bit. It's going to, push inside of his lips a shtickle. So that's kilu, a metaphor. Omer Rav bar bar Chana, Omer B'yechanan, Gemar bia b'shifcha charufa zo achnosas hatorah. Oh, so says Rav bar bar Chana, the name of Yochanan, that the Gemar bia by shifcha charufa is take the achnosas hatorah, implying that ha'aroya is taka nishika. So it's just like Shmuel. Most of Rav Sheshes asakasha shichvas zera, that it says by shifcha charufa davka shichvas zera enu chayv elo al bias meru. So it has to be proper bia, my love, meru gid lo meir katora. So I might think that's proper intercourse. So we say no, it's just davka the atore, that is gemar. That's the shichva zera, but ha'aroya could just be nishika. Kiyasur Rav Dimi Omer B'yechanan. When Rav Dimi came, he says the name of B'yechanan, ha'aroya is ha'achnosas hatorah. That ha'aroya is take ha'achnosas hatorah. Amrulei v'Rav bar bar Chana lo amrochi. But 1 second, Rav bar bar Chana taka said that gemar bia is ha'achnosas hatorah. So Omer lehu. So Rav Dimi says to them, Iu Shakrai, either Rav bar bar Chana is lying, or Ana Shakri, or I'm lying. Kiyasu Ravan Omer Yochanan, Hara is achnosas hatorah. When Ravan came, he says the name of Yochanan that Hara is taka hachnosas hatorah. The Rav bar Chana vadai polig, at Shmuel Melema polig. So he's definitely arguing on Rav bar Chana, who says that Gemar bia is achnosas hatorah, but does he necessarily argue on Shmuel? Lo, minishika vad achnosas hatorah roya korile. You could say that according to Shmuel, that ha'aroya starts at nishika and completes with achnosas hatorah, kiyosur of Shmuel. By Yehuda Amar B'yochanan ha'aroya is achnosas hatorah, gemar bia mamish, mikan ve'elach eno ela nishika, u'foter aleu polig ad Shmuel. So when Rav Shmuel bar Yehuda came, he said in Rav Yochanan that ha'aroya is achnosas hatorah, gemar bia is mamish gemar bia, but anything less than that is only nishika, and it is potter, implying that would not be considered ha'aroya. And the Taka argues on Shmuel, who says that nishika is ha'aroya. Alright, well, those are the technicalities of ha'aroya and gemar bia. Friends, that was Daf Nun Hey, Masechet Yevamos. Hope you enjoyed. Peace out.